chairs
nice.
for you. This looks cool. I've always seen this on social, and it always looks smaller than you get out here, and you're like, this is a. You all look beautiful.
Big audience.
We got all of your comments as far as, hey, it's too effing hot. Can you please make it cooler? And we got you sorted. My name is Troy Baker. I am joined here by two friends and colleagues. It feels cool to say on both angles. You guys may know who this is. Ruvir Saru from Ready at Dawn.
Hey, everybody.
Yes. Jason Rubin, who's the content creator of, or you kind of own everything.
Content,
VP of content for Oculus. And we have a funny story to tell you, which is kind of on brand since we're talking about narrative in VR. Obviously, we could sit here and talk all day about Lone Echo 2. That's what we want to talk about, of course. Who played Lone Echo? Anybody? Okay, good.
Yeah,
thank you so much for playing. Okay. You're who we are trying to reach, so thank you so much. His name is Tim. I have notes, don't worry, so I'm going to try and stay on brand as much as I can, but we could talk about Lone Echo, which 89 Metacritic, which as we all know is super hard to get, especially for a VR title. Swept the awards with such a unique experience. I was a part of it. I got to play Jack, written and directed by this lovely man. And but first, I kind of want to rewind the clock a little bit because I remember parts of how this whole thing came to be, and I remember parts of it because it's been a while, and also it was in Vegas, so there's spotty memories of how it came to be. But what I remember is 2014.
Yeah.
Sounds right. Okay, 2014. You and I were having a drink up at that cool lounge at the Cosmo Hotel, and it was super vibey, guys. It was like laid back, we're chill, we're having like martinis or something, trying to think we're way too important. And we kept talking about how are we, I want to find a way to work together, you would just shift the order. And I was trying to find a way that you and I could work together. That's before the Game Awards. We were out there for Jeff Keighley's Game Awards, which I have to mention, by the way, that mention was sponsored by Doritos. Just kidding. That was only when it was owned by Spike. Then we go to the Game Awards, and then next thing I know, it's like 3 o'clock in the morning, and we're sitting there at some like Mexican restaurant or some buffet. It's all the guys from Naughty Dog. Austin Wintory was there. I'm sat across from you. Rue is like to my right. And then the next thing I know, there's like this partnership announced between Ready at Dawn and Oculus.
Yeah.
So, and I even asked you, because you had an interesting year that year as well. I was like, what are you up to? He was like, don't worry, I'm going to be fine. And then this announcement, so.
Right, well, it was THQ before that.
Yeah, that was a fun year.
Gone into a hole, unfortunately. And then, Oculus.
So walk me through how this happened. How did Oculus choose Ready at Dawn and Ready at Dawn choose Oculus? How did you guys move into this? How did you guys fall in love?
It's pretty organic. I mean, the thing is, talk about having a narrative. We're talking about narrative. We've been wanting to work together. People don't know, but actually Troy was originally the very first voice of Galahad.
Oh, you're going to go there.
I'm going to go there. I'm going there. He was the very first voice of Galahad, actually, for the Order when we did the test, actually, for it. And then, then he got busy.
So you're going to bring it up. Sony literally said, and you'll laugh at this, you better laugh at this, because I had to, he's in too many games. He's in too many games, and they're like, so they changed it. And by the way, I think it was a much better call, because at least for me, I enjoyed playing that. But please, continue.
But after that, I mean, Jason and I have known each other now for like 16 odd years, I think, since the Naughty Dog days. Yeah.
Well, of course, okay.
Your first game, Ready at Dawn's first game, was a Naughty Dog, a derivative of Jack and Daxter, which one of the founders had come from Naughty Dog.
Yeah. And Jason was actually one of the people who pitched the idea of the Sidekick having its own game for PSP at the time.
Daxter,
Exactly. So I think all this connection actually come to where Lone Echo comes into play, actually, was Jason had just started Oculus. I happened to have looked at VR during the first years of like Morpheus and what PSVR came. We knew what Oculus was doing, and when he came to the head of content actually at Oculus, it was kind of almost so automatic, like, I know how he thinks, I respect what he's done over the years actually, and the career he's had. So for me, it was almost like if you have the room, we'd love to do something. We didn't know what it was.
Right.
And then the narrative of Lone Echo was, born, I think.
Exactly. We didn't know what kind of games we should make at the time because VR was so new that nobody had done anything. You know, usually you say, what has worked? Can we mash up 2 games, make a new game? Nobody had any idea what would work in VR at the time.
Most people come to it as, here's the idea of the experience, more of like the systems that I have in place, the mechanics I have in place. You didn't even have that. You just had like a hope, and no plan, just a hope and an idea of what it could be.
Well, you started with the mechanic, the
yeah.
zero gravity, moving yourself around in zero gravity mechanic, which nobody had done before in any medium because there had never been anything like VR before. And we didn't think would work because we thought there was too much motion, and at the time we were new to VR, we thought this is going to make people uncomfortable. And Ready at Dawn basically created this locomotion that gets around some of the challenges of VR. You should tell the story how you came up with it. But
I mean, the thing was, for us, getting into VR was not just about making another game. I think even when I talked to you about narrative in VR, it wasn't just about like, all right, cool, VR is now here, let's make a game, we'll figure it out, and we'll just make a traditional game. It was with the intent of solving something that we felt needed to be solved. So I think the very first thing, as you said, was building that movement model. A few of the guys at work actually were looking at what exactly that would mean, and we looked at astronauts in space on the ISS and the way they moved. And we realized that, like, you know, with the motion that they had, pushing and pulling basically around the world, it gave kind of like that sensation of presence, but also the fact that you didn't feel uncomfortable in VR when you knew that your hand and your eye distance was, you know, kind of exact. Every time you pulled, the velocity actually matched. So suddenly that sometimes uncomfortable part of VR just went away. We pitched that. We actually give you a demo,
because we don't track your feet.
Yeah.
So you're like, what locomotion do you have that doesn't use your feet? Your hands. Well, what do you do? The Climb actually did a pretty good job figuring out that you could do climbing without your feet, although in real life, climbing is mostly your feet. Yeah. And then you were like, well, zero gravity is perfect because you're pushing off. And by coincidence, you stumbled on the fact that if your eye and your hand get that connection, when your inner ear says, I'm not actually moving, your eye and hand connection, your brain's kind of like, go with the 2-on-1 thing. 2 are saying you're moving, I'll go with the 2. And it just is comfortable. Yeah. And it was, when I first played, it was like miraculous. You're like, this works.
I remember the first time that I sat down, I came to the studio, drove down to Irvine, and I walked into the studio, and this is before the actual hand controls had come out. They were just prototypes at that point. So you put a controller in my hand, and I sat down on the chair and played through, and I kind of fumbled through it a little bit. I was doing okay. I'm a decent gamer, but the experience felt intuitive, but the controls didn't. And I came out, I was like 7 minutes. They're like, no, you've been there for like 15 or 20 minutes. I'm like, that's impossible. No one's in VR for that long. You're like, I want to show you something we haven't shown. And he put the controls in my hands. And instantly, first of all, I stood up. I was like, this is what I want. Like you said, once my mind made the connection of this and this, and I had done VR before, but the thing that always held me up was like, how do you get over traversal? Because if I'm not walking my character, this is how it ties into narrative too. Ludonarrative dissonance is what we're always, and you and I had this huge conversation about this. How do I, as a player, not instantly become in contrast with the player that I'm trying to play as? And if I do that, any narrative that's trying to be imposed upon me, I'm automatically at odds with because I'm not doing that. I don't feel that. And I know that you're a man that likes to make statements. Clearly you are too. What statement are you wanting to make with, it's not just about, hey, we fixed traversal, or we figured out how mechanics how to do this, because at the forefront of this game is the relationship between Jack and Liv.
Yeah. Well, it could have been a shooter, right? You could have taken it and said, oh, put guns in your hand, great, it's a space shooter. Yeah. That's not what you did.
Yeah, it was actually trying to figure out what our DNA as a studio was, and we knew that we told games, like made games with character, made games that were narrative, about stories, about people, about relationships, and even in our early years, actually working on games on other IPs, that's kind of always what we wanted to find, is connection between characters, player, and NPCs. And that's how Jack was born. I mean, the movement was at the genesis of building Lone Echo. The funny thing about it is that the IP came after. So the IP was built around this idea that, like, all right, we're going to be in 0G, we're going to make this game in the future of humanity, and that decision also drove, I mean, being in VR also drove the fact that you were not human. And that's what everybody expected. I think I remember the first time we basically pitched the idea even to the team of the main character not being human. You would want to play human, right? You're in VR, you are the character. You're no longer playing the character. You're actually the character, and you are embodying this character that's going through a journey and a relationship with another NPC character in the game. And we decided the best way to do that is for you not to be human. And that was very, very kind of like something that I wanted to do from the very beginning, purely because it was one of those ways to actually bring back what you talked about, the dissonance between the player character and the player.
And it's important, those of you who haven't played in VR before, when you say, well, you're not playing a human, you're like, I don't play humans in games all the time. What's the difference? The difference is that when you hold your arm out in front of you, it's a robot arm. And you turn it over, and it's a robot arm. And you point your finger, and everything you're doing is happening, but you're seeing the robot arm with all of the mechanics move. And you grab things, and you pull yourself, and you move, and you are the robot in a way that you're never going to be in anything seen through a window. You are the robot in VR, and that's a weird experience for people. They, you know, this is not my arm, right? And it's jarring, but it totally works, and you become the robot.
Exactly, and that brings also the way we kind of started partnering on it. I knew what we were trying to do. I just didn't know how that character was gonna really work out, right? It's hard to basically say, hey, Troy, you've done so much in games, you're gonna play a robot.
Yeah. You have no soul. Now you get to be typecast.
That was my point.
Well, I mean, the three of us, and we're not alone, certainly, because we can point to many games that the games that the franchises, the IPs that continue to sell, the tentpole games of this industry continue to be narrative-driven. And I believe in narrative-driven games. Absolutely. I remember one time in an interview, someone said, when do you think that TV and film will begin to bridge the gap? I was like, homie, TV and film are standing on the shore right now looking at us trying to figure out how they get to where we are. Because the difference is I can watch a show and it can be really, really good. But there's a difference, like you said, when it's my hand and I'm in this and I have a relationship with someone in this game. And now I believe that games are the evolution of, since we've been drawing on the cave walls, the arrow has pointed in this direction. This is the culmination, the evolution of that storytelling. We are naturally storytellers. That's who we want to do. That's why we created language. Dude, Og, you got to come see this woolly mammoth that I killed. Let me draw it for you. That's what we do as storytellers. And the thing that we always want to tell is the story of the relationships that we have. You talked about some of the hurdles that you have with mechanics, traversal. What were your hurdles that you had to overcome? What do you hope to achieve with creating a relationship like that? I mean, there's a whole lot of statements we can make about VR and what it means to society, but I think it's important, especially if you've seen the latest season of Black Mirror. We won't talk about it, won't spoil anything, but polar bear, that's all I'm going to say. What does it mean if we develop a relationship? Because that's what you're trying to do. You want to have this relationship with someone. What does that mean to you personally? What does it mean to you as a studio? What does that mean to you as a head of Oculus, of the content of Oculus? What does that mean to us as a society if we actually develop a relationship with these people?
I think one of the things actually it does is open this door to understanding things that you would never be able to do. If you're able to basically be in the shoes of someone that you would never be in your real life, and experience that kind of relationship. You know, we started off with, in space, or an android and an NPC human that plays against you, and you have a connection. That was the beauty of it. It's how do you build that connection? How do people speak to you once you're in the player's body? How do you develop a friendship? What she says, every time she says something, does it affect you? Does it piss you off because she's being bossy to you? We had that, happening. So slowly, as we build a character, we realized that we could actually push and pull on the emotional strings of the player. What's cool about that is that it opens the door to, I could basically put somebody in the shoes of a person that you'll never be, a man, a woman, a different color, a different creed, whatever it is, and make you experience something and maybe kind of break that boundary, like that tolerance that you basically have to understand. That's where we start today. The beauty of VR is that there's nothing in the world that could actually put you in those shoes and feel like, I would have never known that that's how that person felt being in that environment.
Yeah, and again, like if you haven't been in VR, and especially if you haven't seen something of the quality of Lone Echo, you hear this and you're like, I've played games and I've cried, or I've seen TV shows and I've cried. It's very different in VR. With Liv, She's right in your face. When you move, her head follows you.
Yeah.
Wherever you're going, her eyes follow you. Everyone at one point in the game, because one of the things you can do with our controllers, you can do the thumbs up signal. Everyone, you're listening to her and you go thumbs up. Whatever she's doing, she keeps talking. She gives you a thumbs up back, and you're like, there's this goosebumpy thing that happens because you're so it's like being there with somebody in real life as opposed to, again, through the screen. And if you haven't been there and you haven't seen this, it's really hard to believe. We're demoing in Lone Echo 2, like at the Oculus booth. If you can't do it there, do it somewhere else. The experience of being there with these characters is like the experience of being with a human being somewhere else. And that is the masterpiece of Lone Echo to me, is that it's not the robot hands, it's the connection with that character that is utterly virtual, but totally real.
Yeah, and I think that's actually what brought us to actually where we are today, especially with Lone Echo 2, is at the forefront, yes, the mechanics have to drive a game. Every game in the world has to be driven by interaction, mechanics, and some level of immersion, right?
Sure.
VR allows us to have tactile immersion like never before. You feel like you're part of the world. I mean, one of the best things we ever heard actually out of the game was when it released, there's a reviewer who said that the day after finishing the game, he had memories of the game that felt as real as his real life. That's the kind of thing where as a developer, you kind of go like, talk about goosebumps, you kind of feel like, wow. All right, that's at the same time beautiful and scary because, to kind of break that boundary. For us to do Lone Echo 2, it was exactly kind of the continuation of that, is how do we go from that one relationship to now explore how much further that can go, and how do we grow kind of, connection in game with you as a player and a bigger cast, for example.
When you first, I want to walk back just real quick because you brought up something that I'm curious. I talked about my first experience with this. When you first put someone in that experience, when you early play test or whatever, when did you know that you're like, walk me through what that was like for the first time for you to see someone actually experiencing something. This is your story, these are your characters, this is your experience. Were you like, yes? Was it a sense of accomplishment? Was it a sense of, what was that like?
It was a sense of failure, funnily enough.
Okay, whoops.
Yeah, you won't hear that often, but honestly, our very first moment of understanding we were doing something right was what we thought was a complete failure. We had built one of the key, tentpole moments in the game, and our focus test brought 8 people to play that moment, and all we wanted, and we're so used to traditional games, big moments like big explosions and all the cool stuff that you do in games, we were expecting 8 players to go in, play, and get the same reaction. Everything we built that was beautiful took us forever, special effects and this and that to build this whole thing. Those 8 players got into that, and out of those 8 players, I think we got 7 different reactions. Some people didn't even watch what was happening in front of them because you're in VR. So you can do anything you want. If you choose not to listen, if you choose not to watch the cool thing in front of you, in games you usually do. Cinematics show you that. Here there are no cinematics. So a lot of players actually turned away. But turned away not because they were not interested, because of their reaction. And I don't want to spoil it for you guys, but it is a moment that actually brings you to react as a human being in the way that you are. You might actually move forward, back, run away. And we thought everybody was going to move forward and kind of see all of this. And when we realized that people moved away, our first reaction was like, oh my God, I can't believe we worked so hard on something so cool and not many people saw it. And it turned out that our failure, what we thought was a failure, was the biggest success ever because all of those reactions were valid. Unlike in regular games where we expect 80-90% of people to kind of follow the designer's path, we realized that everybody's narrative, everybody's own experience was valid in that moment. It doesn't matter if they saw that.
So then how do you pivot to support that?
Yeah. By rewriting so many times that,
it's hard.
Did you really?
Yeah.
It's hard, and you fade the voices. You get, Liv will kind of say, let's go over here, and your head will naturally turn, and then you kind of look back, and you're like, or I could go do that other thing. And as you go away, her voice fades, and you're like, I really should hear this. So that brings you back in. And again, you're choosing your path. Yeah. But it all just works as if you're in a real room making real decisions, which feels very different than, kind of you're in a cutscene, you're not in a cutscene, or you're asked to look at something, you're not asked to look at something. It just feels natural.
What happens from an Oculus' standpoint? Are you guys wanting to push Ready at Dawn and the technology is kind of leading that? Or do you feel like Oculus is kind of like, oh, now that you're going in this direction, we need to create something that's going to help? which came first, the chicken or the egg? You know what I mean?
Yeah, it's an iterative process. VR has so far to go. We think we're in a great position now with the 2 pieces of hardware we just released. Quest, for example, $399 standalone, pick it up and do whatever you do. But we know that's not the final state of VR. Like, you can look at a PlayStation and an Xbox controller and you could go, pretty much this is what I'm going to be playing on for the next decade or 2 decades. That's not the case with VR. Things are going to change radically. We're going to start doing things that are very different. And we will adapt to what the software creators want to do with the hardware. You said you're a fan of narrative. Huge fan of narrative. But as a producer, I'm a fan of narrative, single player, multiplayer, RPGs, first-person shooters, non-games, like everything. If VR is going to be what we think it's going to be, it needs to be able to handle anything. And what's the controller for everything? Right? It's extremely difficult for us to make those choices. Ultimately, we think everybody in this room is going to be in VR. And I have a 6.5-year-old. She's going to live a good deal of her life in these AR and VR spaces. And probably lots of controllers, probably lots of different things going on. So we're watching the creatives and watching the people that have the talent to make these kind of magical moments happening, and then say, what is it that we do to push that forward? In the case of the thumbs up, the hardware led the reaction from Live. But watching people do that makes us realize other things about our input and other things about the importance of understanding what a player is doing for the game that lead us to do things differently. It's an incredibly interesting space, which is what gets me up every morning.
Easy, right?
That's always a reality we talked about, and I remember I remember Virtual Boy, and I was like, VR is here. I remember going in and playing Mech Warrior, and I was like, VR is here. This is the first time in my life that I really kind of feel like we may actually have flying cars. Like, we may actually get here. With LE2, I have to be very careful when I say the word LE and 2 together, because every journalist leans forward and goes, he's going to leak! Lone Echo 2, relax. With that in mind, with knowing that that's where Oculus is wanting to go with this, where I feel this industry is moving forward, how is that pushing Lone Echo 2, and how do you want to stake your claim in that timeline? How do you apply those principles and take that hope and that plan and make it real?
Oh my God, it's not so much about staking a claim to anything, but moving the medium forward. I think, like Jason said, it is constant iteration of the content, the hardware, the experience, the things that you haven't done right the first time. Like I said, for example, with LE2, we knew that bond, that relationship, that exploration of who you become and how you can have those connections in the world drove us to add more characters in the game, to kind of experience different emotions. We've already kind of gone from moments of fear, moments of suspense. We want to know how we can basically tap into that human kind of emotion more in Lone Echo 2. As we move forward, I mean, especially with Quest coming out, I mean, we just announced that Echo Arena was coming to Quest as well. Yeah, that's going to be fun, actually, and it's going to be fun to see actually Rift players play with the Quest players. We are actually looking at that as the adapting now to what's next in that environment. We worked in Rift where we were kind of contained in a space to play. With Quest, you can literally do anything you want to in as big a space we want. We already have ideas, not necessarily for Lone Echo 2, but what's going to follow. Of how does the hardware now open up the gameplay things that we couldn't do? What are those moments that actually in narrative, for example, for us, or even in multiplayer, are going to be driven by that hardware liberty we're getting with Quest? So right now, honestly, it's more about exploration. I think with a great partner. I have to say, I mean, not just to say that just because
that's
you're here,
but
on stage, yeah, that's because if Jason wasn't there, I wouldn't say this. But it's been amazing because of the fact that there's a healthy fear of the things that we don't know about how to make games in VR, how to create content, what content's going to work, how the hardware is going to hit. But that healthy fear is actually driving, a great collaboration because they have that fear with us. Right. So that means that they are letting us actually make stupid mistakes sometimes that sometimes pay off.
And talk about not knowing where things are going. You stumbled upon, from my perspective, I'm sure you guys did a lot of work, the locomotion, which led to Live, which led to the story. But then you have this locomotion, and you're like, hey, check it out, here's a bunch of people in the room together, and there were objects, and we started throwing the objects around, and you're like, this should be a sport. So you made Echo Arena, which is kind of a companion, which is, I don't know how you describe it, it's like a Frisbee game in space. Yeah, in
the
zero
best version of
G,
esports ever,
which is
basically.
awesome, and it became an esport. And then we had the national championships. And the thing about it is, watching people play VR sports is halfway between sport and esport, because esport, no one's moving; they're doing these little twitch movements.
And this you
and
actually
sports
are.
is physical, and this is physical, but there's people jumping with controllers, and like the higher you can go, the better you're going to be at the sport.
I was
So it
sweating when
actually
I
has
played it, so
physicality.
absolutely.
Yeah, but at the same time, they're standing on a stage and there's nothing around them. And then you look up and they're throwing discs and blocking and doing all the other things you can do in this sport. And that all just organically came out of exploration. There was no plan.
It's those kind of happy accidents that really, throughout history, have kind of been, I'm not trying to be too big, too grandiose, but it's those kind of happy accidents that have led to giant quantum leaps ahead in technology and storytelling. You're showing this on the show floor, correct?
Yes, we are.
You can actually see this on the show floor.
Right now, yes, yeah.
Lone Echo 2, yeah. Lone Echo 2, it's in two places,
but
the Oculus booth and the Facebook
One thing
booth,
that I
I
wanted
think.
to say, actually, even exploring that narrative, talk about happy accidents, right? Wanting to work together has also brought us to, for example, you guys don't know, but I can say it now, although the game's not out yet. Troy actually is working beyond actually being the voice of and being Jack in our game. Troy is also now working with our story team on a regular basis, actually on the story itself. And that is not something that happens often. Finding talent like him, understanding where he is in his career and what he's doing, and understanding how he is as far as not only as an actor. Sometimes you basically ad-lib stuff for us when we were in the booth, just because Jack was saying something, but Troy would say like, hey, I can say it way better. Or it's almost like, can I try it this way? That led to us basically, and me asking Troy to come on board actually pretty much full-time, full-time I would say, at least once a week now, but like coming in to work with our story team. So right now, the greatest part about this is finding out, talking about breaking boundaries in narrative, how now an actor directly contributes, not only in the acting part, but actually in the creation of who Jack is going to be, because he's you. Yeah. Ultimately now, he's you, as much as every player.
And it all started with drinks in Vegas.
Yeah.
Who'd have thought? That's all the time that we have for today, guys. Thank you so much for being with us. Thank you to Jason. Thank you to Rue. Enjoy E3. Thank you for having us.